All right. Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and get started. It is now 6:02 p.m., Tuesday, January 29th, and the board meeting was called to order at 4:30 today, with the board going directly into executive session under the following ORS: ORS 192.6602D, to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. It is now again 6:03, and we are reconvening our meeting with the public session, which is a business session. All board members are present this evening, and I'd like to get us started by handing it over to Director Richardson to lead the land acknowledgement.
Thank you. We're gathered today on the land of the Kalapuya, who are represented by the Confederate tribes of the Grand Ronde and the Confederate tribes of the Siletz Indians. The relationships between the Kalapuya people and this land continues unbroken to this day. And we offer gratitude for the land and for the generations present and past who have stewarded the land since time immemorial. We respectfully acknowledge and honor past, present, and future Native American and Indigenous students and staff of Salem-Keizer Public Schools. We invite you to join us in honoring these ancestral grounds and celebrating the resilience and strength of all Native American and Indigenous people. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll go ahead and jump right into it. Thanks, everyone. Superintendent Castañeda, do we have any agenda modifications this evening?
We do not.
Great. So we'll jump right into Spotlights on Success, which is all yours.
Thank you. Spotlights is one of our favorite activities of our board meetings. And so tonight, what I would like to do is actually welcome Bridget West. Oh, there you are, Bridget. The principal of Hoover, to come on up. We have some spotlights that Bridget is going to be sharing. And we're getting better at this. So the approach that we're using is that we will do a spotlight and then we all shuffle over, take a photo, next spotlight, shuffle over. So you'll see a bunch of activity back here.
Do I stand or sit?
Sit, be comfortable, and you'll need to push the button.
And hold it.
I have to hold it down.
Is it live?
It's live.
Okay.
Oh,
Great.
wonderful.
So you don't have to touch it.
No.
Do not touch.
Good evening, Chair Guzman-Ortiz, Board Directors, Student Advisors, and Superintendent Castaneda. Tonight, I would like to recognize a dedicated staff member who recently joined our Hoover community, alongside a community partner who has been and continues to be a major supporter of teachers and students. MAPS Credit Union awarded more than 20 schools in our district with grants to fund innovative classrooms and school-wide projects, ranging from purchasing books and hosting family literacy nights to creating more flexible and impactful learning spaces for music programs or after-school clubs. One of the innovative projects that was awarded with the grant funding, I am proud to say, belongs to Hoover's very own Laura Sumter. As school counselor at Hoover, Mrs. Sumter used the grant funds awarded to her by MAPS to provide students with engaging materials to foster connections and relationships between peers. Major priorities for our district and our community include students feeling as though they belong at school and increasing mental health supports. Laura used the $1,000 of grant funds provided by MAPS to purchase supplemental social emotional learning curriculum to support the school's All Feelings Matter project, which focuses on trauma-informed care and creating a school climate of warmth, care, and comfort. Just a little example. How can you not feel happy? I wanted to recognize the effort and time that Laura dedicated to applying for the grant. This year's teacher grant for MAPS received a record number of applicants and was the most competitive it has ever been. For one of our staff members to see it through and be awarded with grant funds is truly a testament to the care and commitment Laura and our Hoover staff show our students every day. I want to again express my gratitude to MAPS Credit Union for not only supporting Hoover, but schools across our district and the Mid-Willamette Valley, so that they can better support the education of students in our communities with funding we otherwise wouldn't have. And I also want to thank Laura Sumter for her work, for working diligently for our kids to create safe places for students to learn and grow and feel welcome alongside their peers. Thank you.
We have maps in the house. Do we have maps representatives? Yeah. Have them come up, the maps
I think she's
representative.
gonna do a second round just with maps.
Oh, okay.
Though there's a long version and a maps version.
Yes.
Do everyone together?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
You're right. How could you not love that? I feel better. Thank you so much for this beautiful work. Okay, for our second community spotlight, I'm actually just going to invite Tara Romine, principal of South, up. And now you know the drill, so we'll hand it over to you.
Good evening, Chair Guzman, Ortiz, Board Directors, Student Advisors, and Superintendent Castaneda. Here with me tonight is Jillian Davison, Ellie Mahoney, and Lauren Reeves, students at South Salem High School. Ellie, Jillian, and Lauren are involved in our award-winning DECA business program. One of the DECA categories that is available for students to develop a project in is around community engagement. After attending a community conversation in the Beaverton School District area last spring around the dangers of fentanyl, these three students instantly knew this was a topic that was important to share with the Salem-Keizer community. Fentanyl overdoses and deaths among Oregon teens is on the rise and a significant community issue, and yet the information among this lesser-known drug is not taught in many Oregon schools. In addition, there are a lot of stigmas tied to drug overdoses that can impact how the information is shared with communities. By sharing this information with our Salem-Keizer community, we can help prevent fentanyl drug overdoses and understand ways in which we can protect our teens. Since last spring, these students have been developing a project called Fight Fentanyl with Facts around the dangers of fentanyl, and they put together a community conversation on the topic, which was hosted at South Salem High School back in November. The event that they put together included an expert panel presentation with our Salem-Keizer Coordinator of Nursing, Jody Peterson, South Salem High School's nurse, Denise Proudfoot, Sergeant Brian Goldman from Oregon State Police Drug Enforcement, and Song for Charlie's lead researcher, Jennifer Epstein. This event was attended by community members, parents, students, and staff. After the presentation, it was evident to all that was in attendance that this important issue across our country that impacts all of us. It led to a rich conversation between our expert panel and attendees about how we can protect our teens in our community. Continuing their efforts, they have also coordinated with middle schools to put together health presentations to share information about the dangers of fentanyl. I'd also like to extend gratitude to staff members John Dixon, Vinnie Rolfness, Denise Proudfoot, and Jody Peterson for their contribution, support, and guidance they provided to our students during this project. I would also like to take the opportunity to thank Capital Community Media, who saw this valuable project and took time to attend, interview participants, and put together a fantastic video of the event that we can use as a resource for sharing this information. Having community partners who show up for our kids to value their work means a lot to our school community. Ellie, Jillian, and Lauren, thank you for your work in bringing awareness to the dangers of fentanyl through your community conversation. As principal of South Salem High School, I'm grateful for your dedication to serving our community. South Salem High School and Salem-Keizer community are lucky to have your leadership. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, as we wrap up Community Spotlight, I want to take a few minutes to offer some very special acknowledgments about community and about service. It happens to be National Board Member Appreciation Month, and we are not going to miss the opportunity to spotlight and appreciate our board. And as part of this, I just want to share a couple of thoughts because I was at West last night speaking with the National Honor Society. And we were talking about the 4 pillars of the National Honor Society, and it actually reminded me that those are excellent ways to think about how fortunate we are to have our board members, and in absentia, our student board members, both of whom had emergencies tonight. So I do want to just briefly share a couple of things because I get the privilege of spending a lot of time with board members, individually and in groups. And when I look across these 4 pillars and think about the incredible time-consuming work that they do, and the fact that much of it does not ever see the light of day because it happens behind the scenes. What I want to do is share four elements of the pillar. So first, service, which the National Honor Society defines as the stepping outside of yourself to meet the needs of others. We have all seen so many responsibilities that our board has taken on behalf of our community. And I do believe that in every instance, they are living into this spirit of stepping outside themselves. Leadership. More than a passion or a title, it's about the championing of a positive change and empathy in the community. And every moment that I spend with all of you, I know that that's your individual drive, the championing of positive change in our community. Character. Not our public activities, but a consistent commitment to ethical and compassionate decision-making. And I do wish here too that you guys had a chance to see what I get to see and what our team gets to see in these board members, which is just an unflagging commitment to making sure that our students have the best possible conditions for learning, that our staff have what they need, and that our schools are everything that Salem-Keizer hopes and believes could be possible. And then finally, scholarship, lifelong learning. There's constant professional development, there's constant articles. We bring a constant set of new things that we ask our board members to think about, to contribute to, and to understand. There is no way to be a board member without also being a lifelong learner. So with this, we want to thank our board members, but we also want to create touching, but also, I admit, slightly awkward moment, which is when they open gifts in front of people. So each board member does have a gift, and we want to give you guys a chance to open your gifts and just know that the real spirit of gratitude and of student-centered affection comes through in what we have for you.
I wish I could go with mustache. I've always wanted a mustache. Can't grow one.
Yes.
They got my piercing.
I think so.
No, they're a mix, actually. I know.
My ring is great.
They really do bear close scrutiny because that's when you see how spectacular these versions are of each of our board members. But we do want to pause here too and thank our spectacular student artists. We have artists, elementary artists from Four Corners, Clear Lake, Scott, Cummings, Chavez, Washington, and Candelaria. And they did an amazing job. These definitely belong on mantles and on walls throughout. Yes, your homes.
Oh, you bet.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and with that, I will hand it back to you, Chairwoman.
Well, thank you. That was a great way to get us going. I was just thinking about how I missed the portraits, so this is great. And to have a physical copy, even better. Well, we'll go ahead and jump in then, in that case, to public comment. No, sorry, I'm following track. I'm just excited about the picture, and I'm just thinking, I was thinking about the pillars you mentioned, and yeah, lots of good work happening, and I will say, I think, we're all here really just for students and educators and community all together, so it's appreciating the recognition. We'll actually jump into the superintendent's report is where we are now, and moving it back to you, Superintendent.
Thank you. So my report tonight's going to have a few components. One is just going to be a verbal overview of an important issue that I want to address and acknowledge. And then we will move on to a discussion of our Q2 financial update. We've committed to bringing you these every quarter, probably for certainly all of this year and I believe all of next year, as we track our way towards financial health. And then we will also welcome a close partner and colleague to talk about some of the big themes in our community conversations and what we learned in that first round. To begin with, though, I want to acknowledge one of the things that certainly has been part of all of our lives and I think has received some special attention over the last 6 months, which is the rise in firearm-related violence and the availability of firearms in our community. And I wish to acknowledge this only to say that we are extremely aware of the way that this is impacting not just our school communities, but our whole communities. And although in some ways tragedies in schools involving firearms have become disappointingly everyday, when we see them happen in other states, when we see them happen in other districts, as they did in Iowa recently, it is a reminder, every day a reminder, that this is an issue that does require our sustained attention. It requires action, and it requires a lot of care in striking the balance between safe schools and schools that are open to the world and all of the richness and beauty that the world brings. And although this is an issue that every school in the entire country is dealing with, on behalf of Salem-Keizer, on behalf of our team, we just do want to acknowledge that it continues to be a force that requires attention and action. And I do believe that this is a community that can find a path forward through preventative measures, but it will require the collaboration. This is not a school issue. It's not a law enforcement issue. It's not a faith-based issue. It's not merely a public health issue. It is all of those things at once. And we are committed to being part of solutions both within our schools and within our broader community. Okay, so I now want to shift gears a little bit and move on to the quarter 2 report. And as we do that, I'll just reintroduce the way that we're doing this and offer a few observations about how we're tracking financially as a district. We started this process back actually in July and August when we offered our first presentation on where we saw the district heading financially and the amount of work we would have to do together. And in that first report, what we did was show our best estimate of a 2-year projection. When you're an organization as large as ours, these projections always require constant attention, because every single day in a 6,000 person organization, things are changing. People are joining our team, people are leaving our team, we're making investments, we're making adjustments. Part of budget transparency means bringing those changes on a regular basis so that everyone, not just us, can see where we are and how we're doing. So today we were going to show you the quarter 2 report, and before we even get to that, I do want to tell you that we do have more good news in this quarter 2 report. We're continuing to make headway and close the gap that we've been discussing. And we do that by really close management. I have heard from people that have questions about why the numbers change every time we talk. The numbers change every time we talk because we are always making adjustments to tighten and strengthen this budget. They will continue changing. They'll change every time we talk for as long as we are doing quarterly reports. And this year, we're paying particular attention to accurate forecasting. So what you see here is our first projection in July. And we won't go over it in detail. I know that that is small, but for now, I will just kind of emphasize a few points. The black line is really our district savings account. It's the amount that is helping us fill in every time we have a gap. The orange line is the amount that we spend, and the blue line is the amount that we get in. This was the start of our conversation. And this was a July forecast, which means we didn't know very much about how the year was going to go. So we applied some basic informed assumptions, and this is what we brought you. Then, 2 things, we've come to you twice since then. Once with a quarter 1 update, and then again after we announced the first round reductions. Every time we've done that, the forecast has changed. And every time we've done it, it's changed for the better, which is what we want to see. This is the shape of a slow, thoughtful financial turnaround. Tonight's update, I think, will be the last one that's clearly good news. Because at the end of this one, we will have applied most of the changes and most of the corrections that we are able to do in a single school year. But it's still worth noticing and celebrating the good news when it comes, and tonight is one of those nights. So let's take a look at quarter 2. We're going to look at this in a bigger graph in a minute, but the first thing I want to show you is you'll see in July, you'll see how that savings account line, that black line, It starts high and then it just starts to fall. And what you see in our Q2 update tonight is that it's not falling that way anymore. Now it's starting to level out. And that's actually what we want. We want it to do that because we don't want to be using our savings account to get through the year. Our savings is there in case we need it. We don't want to be spending that down. It costs approximately $40 million a month to run the district. And so when you look at this and you think about it in terms of a savings account, we are one of the most important public institutions in Oregon, and certainly one of the most important ones in Salem-Keizer. We have to be operating in a way that's safe, and that means having some money in that savings account. The other thing that I want you to notice just in terms of a shape is that in July, there was a really big gap between the amount we thought we were going to spend at the end of next year and the amount we are going to be getting. And if you look at the second graph, you'll see that we're starting to squeeze those lines closer together. That's the single most important step we can take in reaching financial health. We don't need those lines to completely touch, but we need them to be close, because that means that we are not spending more than we're getting. Just as in a household budget, we have that same responsibility here. So let's look a little bit closer at the Q2 report. All right, so now we're looking at, this is what has happened in real time since all of our expenses cleared in December. And I want to emphasize just a brief point of incredible gratitude to our finance team. It is unusual that you would see a district doing a Q2 report the first week in January for a quarter that closed in December. That's how close we're trying to manage this budget. Not let any time go by, because we need real-time information in order to make the best possible decisions in the future. The finance team is working all the time on the budget. One of the reasons that this is a much healthier look than when we started, and even than the last time we talked to you, is that over the course of October, November, and especially December, they did something extraordinary. They took every single person who we pay and matched them to our budget and made those two accurate. This is in an organization of this size that is very unusual to be doing that every single quarter this fast. Usually what you do is you make informed guesses about how much you'll spend. You don't match every single person. But that's how important accuracy is to us right now. We want to not be guessing, not even in an informed way. We want to know the size of our gap so that when we start to take action, we know that we are taking the minimum amount of required action to do so. So that is the majority share of the good work that happened. A second thing that's happened is that we've been working hard in the background to reduce the amount that we are relying on one-time funding sources, especially the federal relief money. When we first started, we believed that we were going to have to carry over $20 million in money that was disappearing in September into this budget. And we've narrowed that down to a little over 10. All of this is just attempting to get every day more accurate, more specific, more clear. And it's the work of managing a budget in the face of a known shortfall, which is what we will still have. You can see in summary here, just a quick kind of summary view of some of the really important gains this has produced. So I won't read them all, but I will say, to me, the most important sign of progress here is that through a combination of austerity measures, careful forecasting and management, and a first round of reductions, we've reduced the gap in our budget by $50 million. That is the majority of the gap that we will have to reduce, but it is not everything. So the next graph that you will see in all likelihood will be the one that comes after our bargaining agreements are complete, because that will be the next source of information that is new to this budget picture. These are based right now on the offers we've already made. When we finalize contracts with both associations, we will know how much we're adjusting from our current offer. And that means it will change what our expenses will be. So that is, I'm predicting and I am hoping that that will be something we'll be coming together to look at very soon together. And it continues our transparent and collective journey around monitoring this budget to a point that we can be not just confident, but proud of our district's approach to maximizing the value of every dollar and still living within our unfortunately inadequate state funding. Okay. I will close out the quarterly financial update, and I'm actually going to now pivot over and I think introduce Dr. Taylor. And as she settles, I'm going to offer a very quick personal introduction to this. Dr. Taylor works for the a partner organization called the Willamette Education Service District. Did I get that right?
You did.
We always just use the acronym. The WESD was a really incredible and generous partner in helping us with our community conversations. We reached over 1,500 people, and I believe that you were at almost every single one. And we want to thank you for how much work you did to help us understand the big trends, and that you will do in helping us think about how to understand and match community expectations and needs with the decisions that will come. So I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Chair Guzman-Ortiz, Vice Chairs Avila and Carson Cunningham, Board Directors and Superintendent, thank you for this opportunity to share this data with you. As was mentioned, we've been a part of this since the beginning, and it's an appreciative opportunity to share this with you. I'm Ella Taylor. I serve as the Chief Research Officer at the Willamette Education Service District, and I direct the Center for Education, Innovation, Evaluation, and Research. Our purpose is to do these types of data analysis, program evaluation. We do that within our 21 districts as well as statewide. As you may recall, there were two venues for community conversations and community engagement. One of those was through 6 community engagement events that happened at the 6 high schools, and another was through an online survey. These were the slightly different, obviously, for one is an online survey and the other is face-to-face, but we were able to get different populations of individuals to participate in that. So the 6 community engagements were held at the 6 high schools. That was between October 23rd and November 7th. Oh, there we go. And as you also are familiar, these included a presentation by the superintendent, board member presentations, and then the breaking out into, oh, sorry, thank you, breaking out into focus groups or table groups. Individuals had an opportunity at that time to join any particular table that they wanted to. There were also some specific tables, which I'll talk about in just a minute. The online survey was primarily a qualitative survey, so individuals were asked to respond, provide their own information to the questions, but the questions were the same. It was also open between October and November. It was disseminated through Parent Square, and it included information, again, about the board priorities, about the budget, and the same information that was presented at the community engagement events. I'm clicking, but it's not moving. There we go. Now it's gone way too far. Sorry. There. So, my apologies. There we go. Wanted to also share with you a little bit of information about who attended these events. Between the two opportunities, there were 1,316 participants who participated in either a focus group or the online survey. As you mentioned, there were many other people, but they didn't necessarily stay for the table groups. And when we do this type of research, or when we do this type of data analysis, really, we get a lot of questions about, so that's 1,300 people out of X number of a population of students, of parents, et cetera. So we wanted to also be able to address, is this sample representative of the population at Salem-Keizer School District? And in doing that, we came up with, yes, it is. We have a very high confidence, a 99% confidence, that if we were to repeat this multiple times, the same focus groups, the same online survey, we would get the same responses, or very close to those same responses. And the way that we did that is we estimated the number of families within Salem-Keizer using a US Census, and then we looked at, based on the 972 family members, is this representative? Yes, at a 99% confidence level, so that's really good. We would be very confident with that. With 318 staff, we're a little less confident, but it's still at 90%. And the reason that I talk about this is, again, to say that this is representative of the community, so we can be secure and comfortable with this data. We also know that one of the first things that you're going to want to know is what's the similarity between these two pieces of information, or this information that's coming in. So what did the community conversations tell us? Overall, both of those really emphasized sense of belonging and sense of community. Also emphasized teachers and staff, and how important that is, as well as the importance of extracurricular activities. The questions were the same across both engagement methods, and you can see what they are here. What are the favorite things about your student's school? What programs do you and your student most value? Which of the 5 school board priorities is most important to you and why? And what resources does your student's school need to achieve the board priority? So those were consistent across. Specifically at the community engagement that involved the table groups or the focus groups, there was also, prior to that, an opportunity for staff to participate in professional development about what to do as a facilitator and what to do as a note taker. So folks were trained in that process. Each pair, facilitator and note takers, were provided a form, and the facilitator facilitated the conversation, asked the questions, and the note taker took the notes. There is something important about that, though. If you were there, you know that those 6 events were held in large high school cafeterias, and it was noisy. It was loud. And so facilitators and note takers did their best to hear what folks were saying. And we also know that some of us type much more quickly than others. And so in some respects, we got very specific quotes, and in others, we kind of got the gist of the conversation. But overall, it was very well done. The table groups you can see here, individuals could select among any of these table groups. Our job as the center, as we got this data, was to be able to look at all of the information that came in and begin to theme it. And we did that with 3 of our analysts, myself included, Dr. Pat Ketchum, who's here, and Amber Ryerson, who wasn't able to join us. We looked at all of the responses, we themed it out, and then we made sure that we had inter-rater reliability by having 2 individuals look at the same thing and agree that that is indeed what was happening. Getting to the data. First question that everyone was asked is, what do you like most about your student's school? And this is specifically coming from the community engagement, the high school events. And as you can see here, that school culture and community came up the highest with this response. And it's important here to note that these are responses and not respondents. So individuals were very passionate about answering these questions. And often, most did not give one answer. They would kind of go on about it. And so that meant we had to tease out, oh, this is a theme over here, but in this same statement, it also is a theme over there. So that's why we're talking about responses and not respondents. With that, school culture and community, sense of belonging, sense of community. Extracurricular activities really focused time and time again on music, sports, arts, and clubs. For staff and teacher focus, it was often around teachers advocating for students, as well as teacher-student ratio. Academic focus really entered on challenging courses, as well as CTE and CTEC, and then diversity inclusion really focused on dual language. Now, those are the themes that came out of all of those responses, but we also wanted to look at, regardless of the category, regardless of the theme, what were the most frequent responses? And in that, you can see that the most frequent responses really were about teachers and staff. And you'll see that across all of these questions, but that came across the most, teachers and staff, followed by that sense of belonging, right? How important it was to belong and to have a sense of community. And then, as you can see, sports and athletics, et cetera, followed. The Oregon Department of Education asked districts to look at data for specific focal groups. And what we've done is we've highlighted those here because those are important for us to be able to look at. It's important for the school district to be able to look at. And here you can see that school culture and community comes across on multiple ones of these. And primarily that's because we had 359 responses, if you think about the slide before, that basically said this is the most important, right? The school culture and community. And then you can see staff and teacher and extracurricular activities following that. Comments from the community we wanted to be able to share, give you a gist of what was being said, and you can see this. According to a community member, the thing I value most about the schools is the school spirit and connection about the students. Because of that, I value the sense of belonging. It's such a foundation. It's a motivator, opens doors and opportunities for students. A family member noted, I like the fact that the teacher calls if they are doing good in school and explains if they need help. If they are not good at one particular subject, the teacher calls and tells me. Moving on to the second question, which is what programs do you and your student most value? Extracurricular activities by far came out as the top for this. And that, of course, aligns with the emphasis on sports and music, student newspaper, student government, those types of things. Again, regardless of category, you could see right here, music and sports, dual language programs, CTE, CTEC, as those most important pieces that time and time again were referenced. We again looked at the focal groups, and extracurricular activities came across on all but for the focal group of early childhood. And again, it was because there were 446 responses that just really emphasized that particular component. A family member noted, we use a lot of programs. All of my students are in different music programs. All of my kids are in sports. We really love the CTE programs. He or she hit it right on all those components. A student also noted, encouraging student involvement in extracurriculars helps with students feeling connected. Also, counselors are key to supporting students academically and socially. The third question, which is about the board priorities. Sense of belonging, twice as much as any of the other board priorities. Not indicating that those aren't important, but clearly sense of belonging came across as the most significant. And again, here you can see, except for early childhood, all groups agreed that that sense of belonging was the most important throughout. And for early childhood, it was third grade reading. As a family member noted, sense of belonging makes kids want to go to school, stay on track to graduate, and invest in reading. All comes from a sense of belonging, feeling like they have a place. And a student noted, sense of belonging is most important. Students need to feel they belong before they can learn. And finally, the last question, what resources does your student school need to achieve the board priority? Staff and teacher support. The teachers, specifically these specific words, teacher-student class ratio appeared 143 times. So very strong, but also in school environment, sense of belonging, sense of community appeared 82 times. So again, we're getting that very similar response. When we look, regardless of category, sense of belonging, teacher-student ratio. A little bit different with our resources most needed. 5 of the 8 did emphasize that staffing and teacher support. But we can also see for particularly LGBTQ+, that sense of belonging and a safety and inclusion was mentioned numerous times. A family member noted what resources are most needed, resources that address the barriers at home and bridges the gap for students to be successful, supported by caring adults. The online survey, as we noted, was disseminated through Parent Square and email, and also had primarily qualitative responses. We were so excited about that. And meaning that we were excited, but it also takes a significant amount of time. You can see the race and ethnicity breakdown here, as well as the services. We also looked at, there were 470 individuals who indicated they were a family member of a Salem-Keizer student, and 127 of them were also staff. There were 226 staff, of which 127 were also family members. There were 17 community members and 40 students who responded. What are your favorite things about your student's school? Again, teachers and staff came across quite heavily. There's a slight difference in this one, and that's because this survey specifically provided some examples of school grounds as something that could be favorited. So we also got responses that we didn't get previously, in which 25 responses said school grounds, 18 really liked the school playground. But again, you can see that 336 responses about teachers and staff. And that was consistent all the way across, except for students who felt school facilities were most important. As a family member noted, every single teacher we have had at our schools have been wonderful. We also love the music program and have felt like the music program in particular puts the schools far above the schools in our kids previously attended in Los Angeles and San Diego. Another, talking about school facilities, aesthetically pleasing color scheme, classroom arrangements, and classroom placements. For the second question, what programs do you and your student most value? Extracurricular activities, once again. Sports, music, arts. The academic focus, challenging classes, specifically things like math, reading, STEM were mentioned. For student supports, more consistently, after-school programs were mentioned. And for diversity and inclusion, dual language. And again, regardless of category, music by far, and then followed very closely by sports. Looking at the focal groups, 5 out of the 8 also mentioned extracurricular activities. A student noted about extracurricular activities, the theater and music department is crucial. There is not another place on campus that I feel more accepted or at home as a student and person than in orchestra or theater. If those programs were not in place, my interest in school would drop significantly and my attendance would decline. Which of the 5 priorities is most important to you? No surprise, sense of belonging. Again, emphasizing that just as the community engagement component did. It was unanimous across all of the groups, sense of belonging was the most important, came out on top for every single group. As a family member noted, it is important to me that my child feels emotionally supported, welcomed, and connected at his school so that he is ready to learn in a safe and caring environment. What resources does your student's school need to achieve the board priority? School system changes came across as the top one. Those included, those included smaller class size, which was mentioned 139 times. And then we had increased the length of the day, increased the number of school days, decreased the length of day, decreased the number of school days. All of that got put into school system and changes. Staff and teacher support, increasing staffing, increasing pay, increasing the number of counselors. And for school programs, that included things like behavioral support, CTE, CTEC, online learning, EDGE. EDGE was mentioned numerous times in this survey. Resources needed to achieve the board priority. Here we have the focal groups, and I did want to note that when we looked at respondents, this is really the only place we really did look at respondents. 66% of respondents indicated a desire for smaller class sizes. Family member talking about the school system, smaller class sizes so every student is seen, heard, and accountable. Another family member, fewer students in the classroom, adequate and bilingual resources, and more time for teachers to plan. As we mentioned at the beginning, the overall feedback, what's consistent across these, teachers and staff emphasis. Was noted numerous times in question 1 as a favorite, most valued program, again, teacher and staff in question 2, and resources most needed, again mentioned in question 4. Sense of belonging came across as school culture in question 1. It was clearly the top board priority, and then also in question 4, along with school culture. And the third being extracurricular activities. This was mentioned numerous times, music and sports for favorite things in question 1, and the most valued program, music, sports, and the arts. And to sum that up, a family member noted those extracurricular activities, especially in music, that continue to engage my students within the school, creating a space for them to feel that they belong and have a reason to stay engaged in the school setting. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm certainly open to any questions if there's time.
Thank you very much. This was such an important first step in us starting this budget journey, because before we even begin the work, one of the most important questions we can ask and answer is, what do our most important stakeholders believe about the experience that our students in our communities and our staff are having in our schools? Although I cannot offer this with a confidence interval, there are a few additions that I would like to add to your quite thoughtful and detailed overview. One is that when I had an opportunity to sit with Spanish language speaking families at the tables, one of the things that came up every single time was the importance and value of having multicultural, multilingual staff. It really created and built the sense of belonging that is part of the story you were telling. And though I realize it is not statistically significant, I'm offering it as a powerful trend in every Spanish-speaking table that I was able to join and listen in on. And then I also just want to emphasize something that was very clear in your presentation, which is the incredible gratitude and love that our community has for our staff. It showed up every single conversation, and every single table that I was at, there were stories of our staff going the extra mile to do something that really mattered to a young person and to his or her family. And the stories we heard were balanced. It was very much about teachers. It was also very much about our classified staff and our principals, our administrators. So that is just a foot stomp on something that was clearly a finding on your part. And then I will just finally close by saying that if there was one headline that I would offer from my time in these sessions, it was so many tables reaching the group conclusion that sense of belonging is what makes all of the other board priorities possible. It's what grounds students in their classroom. It's what connects them to a community of peers and adults. It was what gives them the curiosity and the safety and the drive and the hope required for real academic and social challenges. We just heard it everywhere we went, and I think that it started to paint the story of the well-chosen board priorities that this board identified earlier this year. So we want to thank you very much for your time, and also in advance for the time that you'll bring to us in our next round of community conversations. So I will add, as you settle back in your seat, we do have a second round. They are not yet scheduled, but they will likely be in the month of February. And the second round will build off of what we learned, and it will continue to help us answer the question, how do we build schools? How do we staff schools How do we design learning experiences with budget constraints that balance everybody's highest hopes and greatest needs? Okay, I think with that, we are handing it back to you, Chairwoman.
Thanks again, Dr. Taylor, for that recap and the helpful visuals as well to digest the information. I'm excited to do it all over again and learn even more. We'll go ahead and jump in at this point to our public comment, and I'll go over some of the usual comments as we lead into this. So again, we will have selected speakers at random. Today we'll provide 30 minutes. There's 30 minutes allotted for public comment, and all commenters signed up for this evening are in person. Each participant has 3 minutes, and we'll have the electronic mechanisms used for translation and the countdown timer on screen. Hopefully it's a little bit more visual. The timer counts down from 3 minutes, and at 30 seconds it turns from green to yellow, and at 1 second it turns red and plays a short bell to signal that time is up. Just a reminder to be mindful of pace for our interpreters. And if the board receives written comment ahead of the meeting, the written comment will be posted on the district website as well. Tonight we have 10 people selected for comment. All right, and we might not be able to hear from everyone who signed up. So I know we have 10 selected. I believe there was 12 or 13 who we're hoping to provide comment this evening. I'll go ahead and just go down the list at this point. Thanks again. And it looks like the mic is hot, so no need to hold the button this time. And we'll start with Pauline Nash. And do correct my pronunciation anytime, please. After, we'll have Lee Rothweiler. So just kind of to cue the next person. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Polly Nash, and I would like to cede my time to Jennifer Tyree.
Hi there, I'm Jennifer Tyree. I'm one of the school nurses in Salem-Keizer.
Do you want to get it a little bit closer just so that we make sure audio?
A little closer, okay.
Yeah, thank you.
I think there are a few misunderstandings about the impact of the 42% cut to the health services team with Haviland District due to our student-facing roles. I believe there is a liability misunderstanding. The proposed cut to the FTE RNs leaves 18 RNs to address the multitude of student health needs in this district. Based on the numbers from the ODE's 22 legislative report for the 21-22 school year, Salem-Keizer needed 19.2 RNs for the bare minimum requirements of the medically complex and medically fragile students. Those numbers and needs have not gone down. The choice to have 18 RNs would put the district below the state law requirements and ignores their recommendations for the remaining 34,000 students. This suggests that the health service team is being asked to work at recognized efficient levels for the medically complex and medically fragile students and leaves the rest of the student population, of which 20% have chronic health conditions and general day-to-day health needs, with no nurse left to help them. I believe there is a staffing misunderstanding. It has been explained to us that the chosen reduction reflects the FTE boost that ESSER funding brought. However, in 2018 and 2019, we operated with 21.5 full-time equivalent RNs after demonstrating statistically the grave need for expansion. Additionally, despite decreases in enrollment, the number of students with medically complex, medically fragile health conditions, chronic illnesses, and absenteeism related to the unattended health conditions is growing. I believe there is a misunderstanding of our role. Some non-exhaustive examples are we are uniquely positioned and skilled to impact attendance as we work with students and families at the crossroads of healthcare and education. We work to get students healthy so they can get on the bus, attend a full day of school, learn to read, feel like they belong, and graduate. We work with attendance offices, counselors, case managers, CRAD coaches, and students daily. I believe there is a misunderstanding of the risk we are running. Our caseloads are already 3 to 4 times what the recommended levels are. We are tired. We carry a big burden and liability as it is. Many of us work from home at nights and on weekends, along with our educators, just to meet our current heavy caseloads. This disproportionately large proposed budget cuts create an even larger nursing shortage in the district that you have the power to prevent. Please invite us to the table. Learn about our role, how we are student-facing, and how we support the pillars for student success. I implore you to reconsider these proposed budget cuts that create massive holes in the health and safety nets of students in the Salem-Keizer School District.
Thank you. And afterwards, so we'll have Tyler Scale Lakeburg, but yeah. Just kind of calling the next person. And just a quick reminder for pace, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Lee Rothweiler, and I'm a teacher here in the district. I'm also a community member and a former Salem-Keizer student. The first time I spoke at a school board meeting was over 25 years ago when I was a student at Clear Lake Elementary. My mom brought me down along with other parents and their children, and we spoke about class sizes. I don't remember what I said, but I knew that I loved my teachers and wanted to have more time with them. I knew that that meant having fewer students in the classroom. I remember the superintendent at the time came up to me and my mom afterwards. I felt proud that I was able to speak in front of a large group of adults, and I felt heard, but nothing changed. In fact, it seemed to get worse. I got older and went to Whitaker Middle School. My 6th and 7th grade year was before Claggett Creek was built, so Whitaker had about 1,400 students. There were so many students. My classes, half of them in portables, had students everywhere. Teachers had so many students that some of them couldn't learn our names. Then at high school, at McNary, I vividly remember classes that didn't have enough room for all the students. It was to the point that they couldn't fit more, they could not fit more desks into the classroom. The rows started so close to the whiteboards, I don't know how the teachers even used them. Now I'm a teacher in the district, and class sizes are still an issue. I've had classes of 39 students. I've had a total of over 210 students in one semester. I know that I am not the only high school teacher who has gone through this either. How are we supposed to find time to know our students, to create that sense of belonging that was so adamant and important to everyone? How are we supposed to set up materials, contact parents, give detailed feedback on assignments, prep and plan when we have classes this large? The answer is we can't. A cap on class size would help tremendously in giving teachers a manageable workload. We would have time to do our work at work during work hours. I strongly encourage putting a cap on class sizes in the district and grade level wide. Thank you.
Thank you. After Tyler Scalo, we'll have Kara Campuzano.
Good evening, school board chairs, director, superintendent, and our student advisors. I'm here, I am Tyler Scalo Lakeburg, the president for the Salem-Keizer Education Association. I'm here tonight to say that with recent discussions between the superintendent and SKEA, we're really hopeful of rebuilding our relationship. Our ultimate hope is that our relationship between SKEA and the district is one of true collaboration. For the past several years, collaboration has been the district informing us of decisions. That is not collaboration. We are looking to be partners, partnership with problem solving done together. I am a high school social studies teacher. As a president of SKEA, I've had to learn a lot about my members to be able to represent them effectively. I do my best to elevate their voices, their concerns, and their passions. Before I make a decision, I talk to them. I talk to who's impacted to make sure I get the decision right. We are asking for a cultural shift, include SK members' input when decisions are being made. Having all the information leads to better decisions and better outcomes. Case in point, the reduction announced in November that will have our LPNs and nurses to be cut. These individuals who recommended these cuts did not speak to nurses, nor did they even speak to their supervisor. They made the recommendation based on perception and discussions with other high-level administrators. They did not have all the information needed. They did not talk to the most knowledgeable people about these positions. If these cuts are realized next year, this will put our district out of compliance for Division 22, the requirements that we will not have enough nurses to be able to meet the ODE standards. I believe every one of you sitting on this board pursued your position because you care deeply about Salem-Keizer schools. We share a common goal. But if we're going to bring about substantial changes to improve our schools, SKA leadership and our members must be included in this decision-making process. As a board director, please ask our district leaders when presented with new latest decisions, were staff included? How were they included? We need to start taking a different approach to how we make decisions and implement changes. If we are actually collaborative, we will bring about positive changes and lessen negative impact. When we get this right, we will have better schools and staff that feel heard, seen, and will want to stay in Salem-Keizer schools. I believe that this has started with some of our recent communications with our superintendent, and we need you as the board to help continue to keep the district on this path. So thank you.
Thank you. After Kara, we'll have Denise Proudfoot.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chairs, and Superintendent. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. Mom, I'm in the office and there's no nurse here. Call the helpline. But I gave myself insulin. I was 327. Okay, good. I'm glad that you helped yourself. Mom, should I go just wait here until my numbers go down? Yes, just wait a bit. How long? 30 minutes? Because I just don't know if my teacher doesn't feel good or if I don't feel good. I'm confused. Does he think I'm going home? I'm not sure. He's spiraling. My son's spiraling. Do I just skip or do I go back to class? I said, just stay in the office. They should let the teacher know. He said, okay, but the office lady is the only one here. There's no nurse at the school because our schools don't have nurses on staff. We have 65 schools, and we're proposing to only have 19. Type 1 diabetes is a lifelong disease that requires 4 to 5 shots, injections of insulin a day. My son manually has to give them to himself. He is a high schooler. He is one of 107 insulin-dependent students in the Salem-Keizer School District. Plus, there are 3 that require insulin that have other chronic issues. 32 to 34 of those type 1s currently have to have a nurse to manually inject insulin into their bodies for breakfast and lunch in their classroom or at the school. They're having to leave other schools or other students that they're in charge of to take care of any issue of any of the students that may have chronic illnesses. My child requires constant round-the-clock care. And that's just for type 1 kiddos. I have testified in front of state, in House and Senate. I've had one-on-one conversations with our legislatures about insulin affordability, and I didn't think I would have to sit here in front of our school board asking to just keep our nursing staff at, honestly, is bare minimum, where I would prefer to have one nurse for every school here in our district. And that 107 insulin-dependent students are just type 1s. My son's nurses are sitting in here. One of them has been with him since he was 5 years old in kindergarten. And you guys are lucky to have her still here in the school district. And the other one has been with him just as long, and she is his high school nurse. It was sad to receive the text message that they need help. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll have Yadira Juarez following Denise Proudfoot. Thank you.
need to hold this down, right?
No, you can just speak.
Hi again.
You might just want to get it close to your.
Okay, yes. Hi again, Chairperson Guzman Ortiz, Board Directors, Superintendent Castaneda. In the wake of the testimonies we just heard, I feel like I'm kind of going to wing it because there's a few things that have already been addressed. So I'd like to just maybe focus on also taking a step back. My name's Denise Proudfoot. I'm the school nurse at South Salem High School. I wanted to talk about maybe the accuracy that we talked about earlier that you emphasized as an example of the complexity, the importance of accuracy. I want to use an example of the complexity of caseload determination and maybe present numbers that counter some of the inaccurate reports in regard to caseload that we currently carry. And so for an example, in the wake of the proposed reduction in RN FTE, unfortunately, our North Salem High School RN resigned immediately. And that was not only unfortunate in that she served a population who needed her multicultural and multilingual presence, and but also immediately then the 2,100 students approximately at North Salem had to be absorbed that caseload. And as experts with the care of high school nurses, the 5 remaining RN FTE, the 5 remaining comprehensive high school nurses absorbed that. To be clear, that means that my caseload, for instance, at South Salem High School jumped from 2,247 as of yesterday to 2,536. And that caseload size isn't unique to South Salem High School. 9 of our 17 full-time 1.0 RNs already carry caseloads that are between 1,900 and 2,550. 6 of those between 1,700 and 1,900. The remaining 2 that are 1.0 FTE have caseloads, for instance, like that carry CTP, a caseload that has a full caseload of medically complex and medically fragile kids that you couldn't carry a caseload of 2,000. So caseload assignment is complex. It isn't as simple as dividing current student enrollment by total number of RN FTE. The acuity level of students needs to be taken into consideration. The healthcare access that is representative of different schools, the lack of healthcare and preventative care needs to be considered. As you know, Salem-Keizer carries some of the most high numbers across the state in terms of medically complex and medically fragile students, and we don't have a school-based health center. Thank you.
Thank you. Yadira, and then we'll have Kimberly Reed-Zauber. Bienvenida.
Good evening, Chair Guzman Ortiz, Superintendent Castaneda, and members of the board. My name is Yadira Juarez, and I am the Deputy Director from Salem-Keizer Coalition for Equality. I'm here today representing the Salem-Keizer Coalition for Equality. First and foremost, we are here to tell you we support Superintendent Castaneda, and you as a board directors. You have hard decisions to make, reducing the budget and setting and create contracts with the associations. The coalition has identified the following highest priorities for you to protect as you make those difficult decisions. Bilingual, bicultural staff to include educators, support staff, and administrators. Dual language expansion, mental health support, K-3 class size. We know with the reduction of this size, there will be layoffs. In the past years, Salem-Keizer Public School has made incremental progress on hiring bilingual bicultural educators through a variety of programs, including the Grow Your Own programs. It is critical you protect those educators, support staff, and administrators at every level of the organization, both in schools and in the district. a school board and district has a goal of safe and welcoming schools. The bilingual bicultural teachers ensure our students are welcome in the classroom. Bilingual administrators ensure our parents feel welcome in the school. We have been waiting 20 years for the priority of dual language expansion, especially in our Northeast schools, where many of our Latino families live and raise their children. We need you to continue with the promise of expanding our dual language programs, just as you have laid out. Parents of the coalition participate in the original engagement around the SIA plan and the most recent engagement for those funds. It was a high priority for our parents and families. Research reports the academic achievement across content areas improves for students who participate in a K-12 dual language program. We know that there will be cuts and reductions. It is important to prioritize our young learnings, and we know that students reading by third grade sets them on a trajectory for academic performance and lifelong success. Thank you.
Thank you. Following Kimberly, we'll have Brian Zauber read.
Okay, now before you start my 3 minutes, I would like everybody to just take a moment and let's make sure that we're ignoring any distractions, any devices that we might have. Let's put that aside, ignore them for the time being. We are a public service organization and the public is speaking. So good evening, Superintendent, Cabinet, student advisors, and to our school board. Thank you for serving our community. It's a big job. My name's Kimberly Reed Zauber, and I'm a teacher at Parish Middle School. I'm speaking as an individual and on behalf of my like-minded fellow education workers. So let's talk about a corrupted negotiation process. Any negotiation to be productive and effective requires both sides to be sincere in their desire to reach an agreement that serves the needs of all stakeholders. You agreed to bargain in good faith, but in October, when we thought some progress was being made, you suddenly called for mediation with SCIA. You said this was to speed up the negotiations process, but then didn't meet with SCIA's bargaining team until December 6th. And since then, the district bargaining team has not made significant movement on many of the most important articles. That doesn't really sound like good faith. You said you wanted to reach an agreement that benefits both education workers and our students, but the numerous people rotating through the district's bargaining team don't have decision-making power in negotiations. That doesn't sound like working very hard to find a beneficial solution for our students and community. You said you would cut everything that you could from central admin before touching student-serving positions. You cut 7 administrative positions in the first round and snatched away 33 licensed and classified positions, most of which directly serve students. Doesn't sound like trying to maintain service levels. So why would we trust you? Superintendent, cabinet? You might think you're the top of the heap, but your role is essentially one of service. Our organization's purpose is to serve students. If you do not work with our children, your job is to support those of us who do. Where's our support? Board directors, you were elected by the families of these students in order to support their education. When you don't bargain with us and you don't insist on a speedy, good faith bargaining process, how does that serve our community's children? Why, with record funding and decreasing enrollment, are we not offering a quality education? Why is our central admin bloated and insensible to what happens in our schools? Superintendent Castaneda, cabinet, school board, you have here an unparalleled opportunity to rejuvenate Salem-Keizer School District so we can offer the public services that we are not only legally, morally, and ethically obligated to provide, it's time to step up.
So do we have, okay, thanks. We'll have Brian and then we'll have Rita Glass following.
Hello. All right, well, good evening, everyone. Superintendent, school board, cabinet. Oh, assistant superintendent, hello. Anyway, wanted to say hello. I never see him there. Anyway, I would like to talk about the transformative power of investment in our students. The heartbeat of our future in education is not a line item in a budget. It is an investment in the dream and accomplishments of our community. Our students are vessels of untapped potential. When we invest in their education, we invest in unlocking their intellect and passions. And adequate staffing will ensure that our schools have the resources needed to provide a well-rounded education that nurtures not just the academic accomplishments, but also critical thinking, creativity, and resilience. Education is the great equalizer, but it requires equitable use of our resources to fulfill its promise to our community. By ensuring that every school, regardless of its zip code, has everything it needs, I get totally choked up on this, bridges gaps between privilege and disadvantage. No student should be left behind simply because of where they're from. Equalizing education opportunities is not just a moral imperative, it is an investment in a fair and just society. The impact of investment in students extends far beyond the classroom. It reverberates throughout their lives, by extension throughout their families and communities. It is an investment in breaking cycles of poverty, fostering a society where every individual has the opportunity to reach their full potential. Thank you.
Welcome, Rita. Just Lori, is it Beisel? Thank you. No, you're next. Yeah, thanks.
Good evening, Chair Guzman Ortiz, Superintendent Castañeda, and school board members and student advisors. I'm speaking as an individual to say that I am disappointed with the school district's current reported budget crisis, and that is an understatement. To make the decision to eliminate positions that are critical to student success in round one of budget cuts does not make sense. 5 nurses, 9 LPN education assistants, 2 K-12 ESOL federal program associates, 3 native language specialists, 1 translator, administrative secretaries, and more, tells me that you have no clue what these employees' positions do for our students. They are often the first point of contact for students and families. Nurses and LPN assistants provide a safe and required learning environment by supporting the health needs, a safe place for students and staff. I had the wonderful opportunity of working with the most compassionate and phenomenal nurse at Roberts at Chemeketa when I worked there. And all our nurses are the best in the state of Oregon. they provide a safe environment, especially the nurse there, who worked with students that really needed a safe place, and with our teen parents and our babies who are registered as students in this district. So, I mean, I don't think you understand what they do. I really don't. Cutting these positions is creating an unsafe environment and will be detrimental to our students. Our native language specialists and translators and K-12 ESOL program associates are also first contact for our incoming students and families who speak a language other than English. Our PAs support family, schools, teachers, etc., and providing resource in the many different languages that we find in our district. Getting rid of these positions will mean that for new ELL students, it will take 2 to 3 weeks longer to register them for school. And also, I just want to say, I'm not sure when you guys received the report about the community sessions from Willamette ESD, but if you did receive them prior to making round 1 cuts, I'm even more so disappointed. We got to do better.
Thank you, Rita. Lori, and then we'll end off with Liz Descartes, and that should get us through our list of folks who signed up. So,
good evening. My name is Lori Beitzel, and I want to say thank you for letting me come, board members and Superintendent Castaneda. I come to you tonight as a special education teacher, a parent, and the proud graduate of Salem-Keizer schools. When cuts are made at the school level, we can't just look at dollars. We have to look at the direct effect these cuts have on our students, their families, and the staff that serve them. I'd like to share some insight from school setting and how the cuts to the special education clerical staff and nursing will affect our operations. As an elementary LRC teacher in a district without a caseload cap, my 35 students is not just the number of students I serve through their education, social skills, and behavior support. I also maintain their communication between team members and families, paperwork, data, doctor's offices. I hold all required meetings. Most of these meetings have deadlines that must be met due to special education law, and the paperwork completed is the determinant of how the district receives its special education funding. Most of these special education meetings are held through our school districts in our classrooms. I am currently scheduling a meeting with 12 team members. With that caseload and that work, I will not be able to do that without the help of a clerical staff member. Cannot do it. These extensive needs are critical to our student bodies. I'm skipping through some of this because it is so emotional to me that I'm afraid I'll break down in front of you, because I truly don't feel like you have seen the students that are going to be affected by these cuts. If the clerical cuts don't stress the system enough, then I want to talk about the 42% of the nurses that are going to be cut. Our school has both special education and general education students who require daily services to make their education accessible to them. The theme of this district is to have it for all students. But I don't feel like you are seeing all students or taking them into account when you're making these budget cuts. I want you to think about how the society sees us right now. We are looking at this and saying that the students that require the most are the least important. That's what you are telling our community. Think about how you are going to respond when a family member or friend who has somebody in special education or somebody who has nursing needs, when they come to you and say, why wasn't there a nurse available when our child needed medical care? Why weren't the legally required meetings that I need provided to me? And why aren't my special education rights being met?
Thank you, Lori, and welcome, Liz.
Good evening, school board members and guests. My name is Liz Descar, and I've been a teacher in this district since 1996. I currently teach second grade at Kalapuya Elementary. I would like to address the number one reason teachers are leaving this profession and the reason that we can try all the educational initiatives we want, and they will not work until we solve the problem of student behaviors. We need to provide schools the resources to deal with these behaviors. All of your teachers here learned that classroom management will make or break you. As a brand new teacher, we were taught you must have your class under control before you can even begin to deal with academics. We now see behaviors that used to exist in our self-contained classrooms in Gen Ed on a daily basis. This school year alone, I've witnessed students yelling, screaming, using profanity, throwing things, threatening to kill themselves and others, and hitting and kicking. And this is in second grade. These behaviors happen while we are trying to teach lessons. At my school, we have 3.5 dedicated behavior personnel, and they work non-stop, but it is not enough. You see, one child in extreme behavior can easily take 2, sometimes 3 adults. So if this happens, and something happens in my classroom, say, there's nobody to call. And that's also counting on all of those staff at school, because when someone is sick, there are often no substitutes, or some of our behavior positions don't allow for a sub. So what do I do when I have nobody to call for help and I have chaotic behaviors? Often, I try to ignore it, leaving kids to think that this is normal, acceptable behavior, and trying to learn while someone next to them might be incredibly distracting and often frightening to them. Sometimes I try to intervene, which then stops instruction, often leads to more chaos since my attention is diverted. All of this is trauma to the students who are watching. They watch the chaos, they watch their staff, their loved teachers in chaos, and your staff is traumatized. Our schools are staffed for behavior like we're putting a Band-Aid on an artery bleeding out. Ask any teacher here in this room, around the district, and they will tell you the same thing. There's no point in setting academic goals if we can't get these behaviors under control. It doesn't matter how much data I try to collect and analyze or standards that I try to deconstruct. If I can't finish a lesson, it doesn't matter what my lesson plans looked like. I have to spend my time putting out fires, and I can't teach. I've been trained as a teacher. I know how to teach. You hired me to teach, and it's incredibly frustrating to be put in a situation where I can't do that job. Thank you.
Thanks to everyone who provided public comment this evening that we were able to make it through our list. We will at this point then transition on to our consent calendar.
Can I take a break?
Yes, I'm looking, thank you all. It's not on my agenda and I was waiting to see if anyone really called for it, but it has been requested. Can't hear? Okay. Thanks everyone for the note. Thanks everyone for public comments this evening. We'll go ahead and transition to a short break. We can do, I want to do 5 minutes, just for people can run for it and people can transition as needed. Thank you. See. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you. I know that was a little bit more than 5 minutes, which is totally fine. We'll move on now to item 6 on the agenda, which is the consent calendar. Superintendent Castañeda is with any information you'd like to provide on the calendar?
No, thank you, not tonight.
All right. Apologies, I'm looking for my full agenda. Do we have a motion on this item?
I do.
Director Chandagiri?
I move that we.
Thank you. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
All right, have Director Pressey second. All those in support of approving the consent calendar as is?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, that is unanimous. Board members approve. Now we can move on to item 7, which is the information and standard reports. Anything, this information has been provided to the board ahead of time, so not much to review on this agenda item. And that takes us straight into the board reports. That allows board directors and student advisors who are not with us this evening to share any updates related to their formal work or committee assignments in relation to school district activities and youth programs. So we'll stick to about 2 minutes and we can just kind of go down the line. Director Chandagiri, if you'd like to get us started, please.
Thank you, Chair. It was a nice Christmas and New Year, and children from our Salem-Keizer school district who are part of a mentoring program called STEM Mentoring, Zenzeli STEM Mentoring Program, a nonprofit run by a nonprofit called Equity Splash. They did a Toys for Tots for children in the community. So they gathered a bunch of donated toys and then they made sure they distributed to children, and it was well attended. We still kept getting requests for the toys even after the event ended. So I just think it was a good way for the students to not only attend the mentoring program, but they were organizing it and they were taking the lead and distributing it. Now they're getting ready to organize the Martin Luther King Jr. Day program. And thank you, Director Richardson, for guiding and helping and collaborating with Equity Splash and on Sony Marchbank. So I really appreciate. We are waiting for you to come back from Atlanta, so we were all kind of eagerly waiting. So we would like to make sure our community is aware, and it's nice to see our students participate and take the lead in organizing and participating and feeling a part of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You want to just jump in and kind of go down the line? We don't have to. You can pass and we can come back if you feel.
I pass. I was excited to have been able to participate in some of those community events, and I just I don't know. It's nice now and then when we get to have a glimpse of the heart of the community and the love radiating from the children and the just the energy that it brings of community and coming together and seeing all of them, their pride chipping in as a community. So that was really an honor and very neat. And that's why I remember that I love being a part of this community and living here, honestly. So thanks, everyone.
I don't have anything to report this time. SCATS didn't meet in December, so it won't be until next month.
I don't have anything this time either. Thank you.
I'll just say thank you for all the artwork to our students who did our portraits. Really thankful and grateful for that. And thank you for all the hard work for the district and both of the bargaining teams and the associations. And we'll continue to move this process forward. So thank you.
I'm elated that we will be celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday on Monday, January 15th. We will be having a celebration at McKay High School starting at 11 o'clock a.m. to 3 p.m. This is being sponsored by the Be Black Foundation and Equity Splash. It's still in the planning stages. Sorry about the late notice, but there is no way we cannot honor this man on this great day, and I invite each and every one of you to come out and participate with us. It will be a great event. The NAACP will be honoring Dr. King on January the 17th at Chemeketa Community College from 1 to 3. They will have a keynote speaker that day, and so I invite you to also participate on the 17th. Dr. Martin Luther King made many sacrifices and did many things to help African American, Black, and people of color to be able to be in the places they are today, to have their voices elevated, and to just be a part of society in a manner that they can. I was a part of segregation, so I understand what privileges we have now that we didn't have, and I'm very thankful for the ability to be able to go to integrated schools and to be leaders in school districts, especially Salem-Keizer. I'm the first African-American high school principal in Salem, and we need more. Thank you very much.
And Director Richardson, can you repeat the 17th?
The 17th is at Chemeketa Community College.
What building?
I'll get that right quick for you.
You have to jump to every building to find out.
There's a lot of buildings in different locations, so maybe.
It's in Building 2, Room 179.
Awesome.
Park in the green lot or the blue lot.
Thank you so much. What time?
It is from 1 to 3.
1 to 3.
Did you get that?
I did. Did you?
I did.
If not, it's recorded and you can always play it back on YouTube.
At 1.5 speed.
And I want to thank Oni Marchbanks for just getting with me today and getting this planned. Thank you, Oni.
Thanks so much, Director Richardson, for those upcoming events. I hope to be able to make it as well. I don't have much to update, I think, other than just appreciation and gratitude for, again, the portraits and the energy that the students put out. So thanks to all of the effort that went in there. I have an awesome one to definitely hang up on my wall. And yeah, hopefully everybody's just come back and settling back into school after the winter break. And I look forward to coming back next month with more to share. But I believe with that, we'll go ahead and adjourn our meeting. Thanks everyone for your time, energy, and patience.
Thank you.